In this well-fought game, Bobby Fischer uses his tactical skills to capture his opponent Ruben Shocron's queen, and which eventually forced the resignations of Ruben Shocron. So Fischer is playing with the white pieces here, and Ruben Shocron is playing with the black pieces. So after the bishop to b5 is the Ryle Lopez. So after the pawn push to a6, the bishop is attacked, and the bishop goes to a4, and a knight comes to f6 and castles on the king side. Fischer as of the fifth move, and bishop to e7 now makes this the close position of the Ryle Lopez, and rook now comes to e1, activating the rook, and b5 is pushed, attacking the bishop, and the bishop goes to b3, and pawn push to d6, activating the light square bishop, and now c3 is played, allowing you to bring your bishop here to c2, and also preparing the push of d4 pawn to attack the center. So castles on the king side, Ruben as of the 8th move, and h3 is played. Any idea of pinning this knight or the knight jumping over here is eliminated with the push of this h3 pawn, and it also gives a breathing space for the king to move in later on in the game. So knight to a5, attacking this very nice bishop on this light square diagonal, which is already pinning this pawn and attacking the king over here. So the bishop goes to c2. That is the idea of pushing this pawn to c3 quite early in the game. So if this knight comes in, or even if the pawns start marching down the board, you will have a nice square for this bishop to go into, and you can also push d4 later in the game. c5 now, and d4 by Fischer, attacking the pawn center. As you can see, the queen and the central pawns of Ruben are already on the center of the board on the fifth rank right now. So instead of going for the exchange of the pawns and relieving the pressure, so queen comes to c7, and knight goes to d2 now, and bishop to d7 now, connecting the rooks, and knight to f1 now, and rook comes to e8, countering the rook on e1 of Fischer, and knight reorients to e3, eyeing one of the central outposts if required, and the pawn push to g6 prevent the knight from coming over here, and after that the pawn is captured, and the pawn is captured back, opening up the d file, and knight goes to h2 now, rearranging the knight, also allowing you to push f4 if required, and the rook comes to d8 now, creating an extra attack on the queen. So the queen goes to f3 in place on the place created by that knight, and bishop to e6 now, allowing the rook to control the open d file. So knight to g4 by Fischer now, and the knight captures the knight, and the pawn captures the knight back. So this allows the opening of this h file, and Fischer may be looking to push the pawn and to bring his rook and create an attack on the king side. But after the queen to c6 move, attacking this pawn, the pawn is pushed by Fischer, and knight comes to c4, attacking the knight, and knight to g4 now, bringing the knight into the game. So the bishop is forced to capture the knight, and the queen captures back, and the knight goes back to d6, and the pawn is now pushed to g3, allowing you to bring your king up into the g2 square, and activating this particular rooks through the h file. Pawn is now pushed to c4, creating a good pawn structure on the queen side of the board, and also prevents any pawn push on the queen side. And the king now goes to g2, and the knight retreats to d7, reorienting the knight, and rook goes to h1, launching an attack using the h file, which was opened up using the capture back with this pawn on the h file. Knight goes to f8 now. So the idea is to bring this knight here, is to bring it back here, so this h7 pawn is protected against any double attacks with the rooks. So pawn push to b4 now, launching a counter on the queen side, and the queen now goes to e6, looking for a queen exchange. So queen of Fischer goes to e2, and as of now the game is still equal and in the balance, and a5 is pushed, and the pawn is now captured, and the queen goes to a6, away from the game actually, and this allows the bishop to go to e3, and the queen now captures the pawn on a5, and the pawn push to a4 happens, and with the support of both the bishop and the queen. And now once the rook came in, the pawn is captured, and instead of going for the capture, if you capture with, you'll get two rooks for the queen here, but there is also a pawn on that particular fifth rank which is free to go now. So he didn't go for that, and he captured the pawn back, Ruben, and then the rook comes to b1, attacking the queen, and the queen goes to c6, and after which Fischer follows that queen and attacks the queen, and the queen goes to c7. So the rook now doubles up on that a file, and the rooks are exchanged, and after which the rook queen battery is found, but it's not creating any immediate threat, and queen to g4 now, and even now the game is on the balance, and bishop goes to a4 now, and the rook moves now. So here the game started to change. The rook move is a natural looking move, taking over the b file, launching an attack on through the queen side, but this allow rook to c6 here to be played by Fischer. So this changes the game, because after this queen to d8 is played instead of going into this particular d7 square. This allows Fischer to use this particular tactics, and he captures this knight with his rook, and basically he didn't capture back and tries to pin that particular rook basically. So here, yes, you can capture back with your pawn like this, but it will end up, you will end up losing this pawn, and probably this pawn is also hanging. And after the bishop comes here, white position is locked, and there is nothing much black can do to create a counter attack, whereas these bishops and the queen are launching a good attack on that exposed black king. So because of that, he played queen to c8, trying to pin this particular rook. So the rook will be hanging. If you move the rook, basically you lose the queen. But Fischer brought in bishop to d7, and basically Ruben must be shocked, and he resigned the game, because if you capture the bishop like this, there's a discovered attack on the king, on the queen with a check, and after the rook is gone, you will get back that particular queen, and you will be in an end game like this. Basically it will be a queen against this particular rook, and there's also this pawn on c3 which you could push, and basically one of mostly this rook will also hang again. So because of that, he resigned the game as of this bishop position, and Fischer won the match. So an incredible move. This rook, this bishop is not even protected, but if you capture it, the game will end. So because of that, he resigned the game, and Fischer won the match. So thanks so much for watching. We'll be back with more such videos of Fischer.